Just a little bit of an update for the S10. I get a lot of folks asking about the transmission. What transmission I used, how is it holding up, what parts did I need to make it work with my 5.3, yada yada yada. Currently you can see my S10 is in quote-unquote storage. You know, it's early part of February. Today is an absolutely abysmal day. Sleeting, freezing rain, ice, all that fun stuff. Fortunately, I was blessed with having a day off, but I keep getting on the daily barrages of questions asking about the transmission because it's a 5-speed, yada yada yada. Everybody knows this is the 5.3 out of the Avalanche. Used eBay motor mounts, I use eBay swap headers, blah blah blah. I made a video a few months ago, fast for cheap, and this is kind of a second part of it. The transmission I used was a NV3500 two-wheel drive style out of a 2000 Chevy S10. 4.3, and it also had a 8.5-inch rear axle that I neglected to grab at the time. That's another story. I ended up getting another axle and I haven't done anything with it yet. So, the transmission is the same length as the T5 that originally was in this truck. So, the shifter position, if you're going to look at the floor, I had to cut the floor and I had to move the center console back. Shifter position's originally almost near the dash. On the original T5 and on the original what would they call it, that get-reg transmission, HM290 I think it is, or whatever. It's the predecessor to the NV3500. Very similar in design, but they had the shifter in this position. So I had to modify the floor a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't look ideal, but you know what, this truck isn't a showpiece, so I really don't care. 5-speed, blah blah blah. Drive shaft is the same length. Transmission crossmember, same position as the factory setup for the 91 S10 with the T5 with a 2.8 power plant. I don't remember the part numbers off the top of my head, but let's make it easy. The 2000 through 2005 Chevy 1500 pickup truck came with a 4.8. That 4.8 also came with the NV3500. Not the same style as the S10. It used the same input shaft and it used the same original bell housing. There's people online that will argue all day long saying the NV3500 out of the S10 won't work. Bullcrap. It's living proof right here. To mate it to an LS engine, a 4.8 and 5.3, not the long crank early 4.8 and 6 liter, you know, the one they accommodated the 4L82, but the regular short crankshaft, you know, the dished flex plate. It's like, the part number, it's a SOX number, it's like NUS or NWS 1050. It's about $100 on Rock Auto with shipping. That's the flywheel, and you use a clutch kit for a full-size Silverado, early 2000s. You could use the Chevy Blazer kit. I'm thinking you could, but I don't know that it works, so I don't want to give you guys bad information, but what I used was everything from the 4.8. I spent the extra money, I bought the Luke kit, Luke, L-U-K, clutch set, comes with a new throwout bearing, and the SOX flywheel. Worked out perfect. And I used the original 91 S10 master cylinder, clutch master, which is somewhere in here. Here's the reservoir. Oh, it's buried, I don't have my good light. Well, the original master, and I got a adapter line with the quick disconnect from a 2005 Chevy 2500, 6 liter with an NV3500. I had to buy the line directly from General Motors. It has the quick disconnect on one side, and I cut the other side and just use the high pressure compression fitting to meet the early style metric flare nut style master to the quick disconnect style slave cylinder of the later transmissions. Earls and a couple other manufacturers make the adapters that will that are pinned right into the slave cylinder on these later style slave cylinders, or release bearings, or throw out, whatever you guys want to call it. They're like 20-25 bucks. That's what Big Drew's using in his NV3500 setup in his Malibu. So you got that option too. You can get the adapter fittings, and then you can run a braided hose in whatever master cylinder you want to run. But for what I did, it works. It's been like this for 2.5 years. It's perfectly fine. In terms of longevity, this is the second transmission that's in it. The first one, it didn't fail. That's the one I tore apart. It didn't exactly fail, but it was getting noisy. It was on its way out to begin with. Third gear was getting real bad. Transmission that's in it, it's fine. It's a little noisy. They all are. Every one of these cars and trucks I've driven with these transmissions, they all make a little bit of noise. They quiet down when they get hot. But for the most part, it's been good. Spirited driving, it's fine. All-out competition, that's on you. And would I run one of these transmissions for all-out competition? Probably not. The choice is yours. Other than that, for this setup, I mean, I might have 500 bucks in the transmission, including clutch, flywheel, and all the fixings, the lines, and of course the cost of the transmission itself. So 2.5 years later, it's still perfectly fine. It's not getting any worse, at least at this point in time. If this transmission does fail, I may invest the money and get a TKO 600.